Hello, in this short lecture we're going to consider what makes a website suitable for academic research, because there are lots of websites, there are probably too many websites, and we need to find a method to decide which websites are suitable for academic research. That's what we're looking at today. Now you begin by doing a search. I would suggest that you use JSTOR or your university library search function. And when you've found a website, you need to decide if it is useful to you. I would say the first thing to think about is how relevant it is, and when you're evaluating the relevance, when you're deciding, do I want to use this or not, you really need to think about why you're doing the research. Are you doing it to simply get some background knowledge into a particular subject, or are you doing it to answer an essay question? If you're doing it to answer an essay question, very, very important that you answer the essay question, not just research the topic. For example, if your essay question is, what were the main causes of the American Civil War? Then you need to look at the causes. You're not looking at who won the war. You're not looking at the lasting consequences of the war. You're looking at the causes. So that's one way you decide if the website is relevant or not. If your essay asks you what were the economic causes of the American Civil War, what were the economic causes, then you need to specifically look for economic causes, and other causes are probably not relevant to your essay. Okay. How comprehensive is the research? The comprehensive basically means how much detail does it go into, and it is possible that a website can go into too much detail. Perhaps you don't want every little bit of detail, you just need the most important details. You need to decide that. I think how long your essay is would be a factor there. The longer the essay, then the more detail you would need. You also need to evaluate the evidence. This means that the website will make certain claims, the website will say certain things are true, and you need to decide if those things are true or if they're not true. How do you do that? Well, you need to employ critical thinking. Critical thinking isn't that difficult. Critical thinking is the kind of thinking that you use if your friend says to you, lend me $10, I'll pay you back tomorrow, and you decide whether you're going to lend the person $10, you're going to decide whether they really are going to pay you back tomorrow. You're using knowledge that you already have, and you're critically thinking, is this claim true? This person claims they're going to pay me tomorrow. Do I believe that? I'm evaluating the evidence. Have I lent the person money before? Did they pay me back before? Did someone else lend them money before? Did they pay back before? So you're evaluating the evidence all the time, and you need to do that with research. Okay, evaluating the author. Do you know anything about the author? And how up to date the website is. Some websites are not updated very often. Generally their relevance is dated. They're not as useful as they once were. Okay, the domain name will give you a lot of information into how trustworthy, how reliable the website is. .com is commercial sites. Now we would generally not use .com sites. If you get information from a .com site that you want to use, for example, a newspaper. Newspapers are often .com. A very useful thing to do then is to ask yourself, where did the newspaper get this information? And go to where the newspaper got the information. For example, if the newspaper is quoting statistics, does the newspaper give a source? If it doesn't give a source, can you check on the internet if other websites agree with the statistics of the newspaper? But generally we would advise against using .com sources. .org and .gov are generally a little bit more reliable, but particularly with government organisations, they're not always completely truthful. Perhaps they tell you things that are true, but are they telling you the whole truth? You need to decide that. .net is fairly similar to these. You could sometimes use it, but you need to think quite critically. And the two that we would recommend are these sources here. These are generally fairly reliable educational sites, generally universities. Other things you could look for: does the site have contact information? Now that's quite important. If you do get contact information, I would think that would generally mean the website is more reliable. Are there relevant links? That's also important. Links can be thought of as kind of similar to a reference list. If the links take you to serious sources, then that means that the website that's providing the links can be taken more seriously. But generally you need to make a judgment. Okay. When you are looking at a website, skim read it. Don't try and read it all. Just read the beginning and the end and the main headings. Does it make sense to you, and does it help you with what you're researching? Does it help you answer your essay question? How specialised is the information? Does it seem like the writer really knows what they're talking about? Is the writer writing in an academic manner? How broad is the coverage? Now, if you want to just know about the American Civil War, for example, then a general overview might be a very good thing. But if you are answering a question on what were the economic causes of the American Civil War, you perhaps want a narrow focus. You only want to read about economic causes, and anything that's not about economic causes, even if it is about the American Civil War, if it's not about economic causes, you don't want it. Okay. Do I understand the key terms from the source? Now you can use a dictionary here, but if you don't understand the key terms, and if you don't understand the key ideas, then it is very, very dangerous to use the source, because if you don't understand it, then you might be using it wrongly and it might completely undermine your essay. So that's a very good rule. Don't use something unless you understand it. Right, when you're evaluating the evidence, are there sources provided? Is there a site bibliography? These are very similar things. How academic are the sources? Can you find them on the internet? Can you find them in your university library? If they're not academic, then probably don't use the source. Does the site make claims and not support them? Now that happens quite a lot. It happens, for example, with a lot of today's politicians. Do they say things are true without giving any evidence for them? If that happens with an academic source, be very careful. Be very, very careful. Is the website up to date? How recently was the website created? Research is changing all the time. Our understanding of things are changing all the time. And if something is not up to date, if it wasn't created recently, it might not be suitable. Now whether it's up to date is not the only consideration, but you do need to think about that. And is it complete? Does it tell you the whole story? Or does it just give you part of the story? You need to think about that too. Has the site been critically acclaimed? Now, this is something that you could research yourself. You could look for, you could do a Google search for the name of any author that appears on the website. You could do a JSTOR search or a search in your university library. You could also look for any references just to the website on the internet. Who else has used this website? On a lot of academic search engines, you often see next to a source, you often see cited by, C-I-T-E-D by, and that means all of the other sources which have cited the source you're looking at. Now, if these other sources are good sources, then the source you're looking at may well be quite a good one too, and it would be worth using. If not, probably not. Okay. Who is the website author? If you don't get a name, be very careful about that. Serious academics will only put their name to something that they are very sure of. That means if a serious academic does put his or her name to a website, then it is probably a good website. If there's no name at all, then you be very, very careful. Do you know anything about the organisation that is creating the website? You could do a search to try and find something about that organisation. It could be that organisation is not telling you the truth. It would be quite good to find out who the organisation is. If you can't do that, then be very careful about using that source. It might not be accurate. Okay, if the website does list the author, then you could check this author, check their qualifications. You could do a web search, find out anything you can about the author. Serious authors often give a method of contacting them because they want to be told if they've made any mistakes. If they don't give that, you could be a little bit less likely to use the source. Is the author biased? Well, knowing what you already know about the subject that you're researching, for example, if you're researching the American Civil War, and you know something about the subject, you read a little bit about this author, you read a little bit about the website. Do they seem biased? Even if you don't agree with them, they might not be biased. But you need to make that judgment. You're looking out for language that suggests that the author might be biased. If the website does not have a last updated date, or if the website was not updated recently, then it's probably not a good website, and perhaps you shouldn't use it if it doesn't have this. If there is a date, then use the most up-to-date information. Not all of the information will have been posted at the same time. You need to make a critical judgment on this. There's no right and wrong, although there is more right and there is more wrong. As you do this more and more, you get better at it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but you'll get better at it the more you do it. It's basically just using the same kind of critical thinking skills that you use in your everyday life.